Well, good morning and welcome. Thank you for starting your day with us. Dan Alstrand is back on the 26th, so I'm here to keep the ship afloat until then. And we've got lots to talk about today. A lineup that, today we're going to touch on things that impact community, big dreams for the future, and a very human issue that many of us may be feeling most during these long winter months. We're going to bring you a story about housing, and this is about more than just roofs over heads. A community housing organization called Rooted has teamed up with the province to acquire and preserve nearly 200 affordable homes in Dartmouth and Truro. The goal is to keep current tenants in place while protecting long-term affordability. It's part of broader efforts to ensure people aren't forced out of the places they call home. And so we'll chat with the folks at Rooted later on this morning. We're going to dive into a big idea with global reach right here on Nova Scotia's eastern shore. A proposed whale sanctuary is hoping to provide a safe haven for retired captive whales. Organizers say they need about $15 million to finish building the 40-hectare enclosure. And once that is done, they'll bring 2 killer whales from France to Nova Scotia by the end of summer. Now, if it happens, this is going to be the first of its kind in North America, but the fundraising challenge is enormous, and we're going to speak to an animal behaviour specialist to give us some more information on that. Plus a topic that many of us are feeling right now. Winter, can be beautiful, but it can also be isolating. We're going to talk with an expert about how social isolation in winter months can impact your brain health and what science says about loneliness and cognitive function. Also give you some practical steps, perhaps, to that you can take to stay connected and mentally sharp during the winter months. We're going to check in with Garreth MacDonald, the voice of the Mooseheads. And we've got 44 Quebec Major Junior Hockey League players on the NHL mid-season prospect list for the 2026 entry draft. We're going to check in with Garreth and just, find out what does that mean for the Mooseheads. Is it a sign of Moosehead's greatness to come? We'll see what Garreth has to say. And, of course, as always on Wednesdays, Dr. John Gillis is going to be by to take your health-related questions. And then the final hour, I will be turning things over to you for the Mid-Week Meltdown. This is going to be my first meltdown, so looking forward to the conversation. No shortage of things that we can talk about during that open hour. For example, perhaps you're interested in the story about the Vimy Legion. It's a story at Halifax that has many in the North End feeling both nostalgic and frustrated. Vimy Legion, one of Nova Scotia's oldest Royal Canadian Legion branches, and it was part of the community for 99 years. Shut its doors, and members say they weren't given a fair shot at keeping the club open. So perhaps that is something that you would like to discuss. Speaking of closures, kind of sad to see that one of the last remaining Smitty's has abruptly closed its doors and says that pandemic pressures are to blame. Hard to believe that, 6 years on, we are still dealing with pandemic issues and mentioning the pandemic as if it just happened yesterday. But, the ramifications are still there. I guess the Smitty's location in Clayton Park, notice was posted to the door of the restaurant. It said the decision was due to the financial impacts of COVID-19 and the post-pandemic period. The note says, collectively, those challenges are very real and have taken their toll on us personally and financially. We can no longer continue to operate profitably in this location, the note said. Very sad. Smitty's has been a bit of an institution around these parts, so it's quite sad to see it gone. Perhaps another topic that you would be interested in, Nova Scotia's property values. You're going to be getting those property assessments in the mail sometime this week. And for the very first time, properties across Nova Scotia, the value of them anyway, it's broken the $200 billion mark, very first time. And your property values, for the most part, up approximately 8%, a record $206.3 billion. Now, properties in and around Halifax, apparently what's driving the growth and properties in the municipality now worth about $113.8 billion. That's more than half than the provincial total. What will that mean for your tax bill? I don't think I have to tell you that, but perhaps that is something that is on your mind today and you would like to talk about. In union news, mentioned this earlier this week, but there is an update. The CWA Canada, which represents more than 6,000 workers across Canada, has accused the video game company Ubisoft of shutting down the Halifax studio to keep out a union. So the closure put 71 people out of work, but just a few weeks before they locked their doors, 61 of those workers joined CWA Canada Local 3111, and that became the very first Ubisoft to unionize in North America. So the CWA Canada says it's filed a complaint with the Nova Scotia Labour Board in the wake of that closure, calling for better compensation and new jobs for the laid-off workers. Now, the Ubisoft actually had $12 million in taxpayer money from the government of Nova Scotia to nurture a generation of talent. What happens to that money now? And, is there perhaps something a little nefarious going on there? So an investigation is certainly underway to find out what happened. Another interesting story that crossed my desk, it certainly has personal implications for me, especially after the last 24 hours. Tick checks. Tick experts are saying that you got to be doing this year-round, folks, because the ticks are out there. Mount Allison University biology professor Veinotte Lloyd says that tick checks should be a year-round practice because winters are no longer severe enough to kill them off. And he says that ideally clear and cold is what's needed. We need no snow, a drop to like 20 below or something like that would probably do it, says the professor. But, when there's snow, they're buried deep down, really can't get at them. So they need to be exposed to allow the cold to kill ticks. So, interesting. I spent, I didn't. The royal we, because it was my husband, unfortunately, that ended up spending some quality time at the Metro Emergency Animal Vet last night with our dog who was experiencing symptoms. Simple blood test later, lo and behold, he has Lyme disease. And this is a dog that regularly gets what's it called, Bravecto, I guess. So, even when you take those precautions, and he's not a dog that is out in, the woods a lot. Now, mind you, we live in the woods, so that's more likely than not where he picked it up in our own backyard. And certainly that sends a message to all of us that, Lyme disease is out there. We're seeing it more and more. And Nova Scotia is one of those places where it is leading the pack. In dogs, symptoms can range from fever and chills to actual organ failure, and it can be fatal. So, perhaps we'll get a vet on to talk about that as well, because Lyme disease definitely out there, and it's now a year-round concern. Looks like ferry riders, you guys are going to have to... it's going to be a difficult next couple of weeks for you because the ferry between Alderney Landing and downtown Halifax is out of commission, or at least one of them is. Instead of the usual 15-minute departures, it's every 30 minutes now from 7:15 a.m. to 8:15 p.m., and this follows the removal of the Vincent Coleman ferry from service for mechanical repairs. It broke down last week, and just, forced everybody to pivot. Second week of January, we broke Vince Coleman. What does that say about 2026? Does not bode well. But these are short-term disruptions. They can manage it. They're going to have shuttles on service, but it is disruptive when it happens for a few days. But as Councillor Sam Austin says, if this goes on for weeks and months, it really does start to impact people's day-to-day lives. I guess the issue is parts, and apparently the parts that they need, they just won't be able to get them in time. So it's going to be a bit of a wait for folks who take the ferry, and just make yourself aware of that if it's something that you do on a regular basis. Body moving. Maybe that's something of interest. The Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia has launched a campaign that's hopefully going to get us moving through these dark days of winter. Of course, if you're anything like me, once you're inside this time of the year, you tend to want to stay inside. So it's something that you've got to force yourself to do. It's interesting. Olympic paddler Karen Veinotte is ambassador for this campaign, and she says that movement was essential to her recovery after she was hospitalized and later diagnosed with late-onset bipolar disorder. And actually, we're going to be chatting with somebody later on this morning about winter brain health. And Dr. Howard Chertkow is the chair of cognitive neurology and innovation at Bayshore Health in Toronto. He is actually going to walk us through some steps that you can take to keep your brain sharp. And of course, Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia wants you to get outside. Exercise proven to be ideal for brain health, and it's just great overall for mental health. So we'll perhaps touch on that. There is lots going on. Also going to be, did I mention Garreth? Yes, I did. Garreth Hampshire is the voice of the Mooseheads, and we're going to be discussing with him as well what's going on with the team. Africville Genealogy Society, congratulations to them. They are finally sharing their vision for the historic Black community. The members are holding a meeting to introduce themselves and to hear directly from descendants and former residents as they work to bring the community together. They've got all sorts of former Africville residents, and they're hoping to attract younger people. That's the key now. They want to make some progress on improved access to the National Historic Site at the church there. But the lack of public transit has certainly been an issue and a bit of a controversy for them for years. So perhaps that is something on your mind. Don't forget, if you have a health concern, we're going to be talking with Dr. John Gillis later on this morning, and he'll answer your health-related questions, and perhaps I'll ask him a little bit about Lyme disease as well, since it seems to be top of mind for me today. It is 10:13. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. Next, we're turning to a story about housing and community here in Nova Scotia, and it's one that shows how collaboration can protect people's homes in what has been described as a very tight rental market. The province has partnered with a community housing group called Rooted, and they're going to preserve nearly 200 affordable rental units in Dartmouth and Truro, purchasing 6 properties so that the existing tenants can stay in their homes long term. And this deal has been supported with more than $6.8 million in provincial grants and loans. It's going to ensure that almost 200 units remain affordable and secure for decades rather than being sold off or losing that affordability altogether. So here to tell us more about what this is going to mean for residents, housing policy in general, and why preserving the existing housing stock is critical is Nick Russell, Chief Executive Officer for Rooted. Hey, Nick, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Lisa.
All right. Well, listen, can you tell us, basically what this acquisition, where is it, first of all, and what the acquisition with Rooted means for people living in these 197 units?
Certainly, yeah. So the acquisition that I believe you talked about, the 200 units, was through a purchase that we've done with a local vendor out of two pockets. So there's a portfolio comprised out of Truro, and then the majority of it would be in Dartmouth. So that would look more like big multi-res kind of acquisitions. And even earlier this year, we were able to add another 100 units, bringing our total up to about 300 for 2025 using the provincial programming.
Now, is it spread out all over Dartmouth, or is it in just a couple of areas?
For Dartmouth, it's focused in on North Dartmouth and towards the Gaston area, Southdale. And then Truro, because they're multi-res, they're kind of clustered into two pockets, I would say.
Okay.
So good integration within the community.
So now this is about preserving existing affordable housing stock. Why focus on that rather than new construction?
That's a good question. There's a kind of an enormous amount of reasons. Broadly speaking, like growth is kind of our number one focus in the community housing space and with Root. It's acknowledging that we make up a small percentage of the rental market, and we really need to be, triple, quadruple. In some cases, there's suggestions that 20% of the rental market should be community housing, and we're around 2-3% right now. So development's great, like it has its place, but the amount of risk, I joke a lot about this. My poor heartburn medication can't keep up with the risk attached with developments. There's pros, but a lot of the cons, it's slow, it's very expensive, risk. But with acquisition, it allows kind of scalability, speed, strategic site locations. The risk profile is significantly better. You've got predictable costing up front, easier financing, immediate cash flow, integration within kind of established communities. The cost oftentimes per unit is significantly lower, even with renovations that are often attached with buying the type of inventory that we're buying, which makes it it's an exciting opportunity, something that Rooted's kind of taken put most of our energy into, I would say, this past year, is kind of seizing this opportunity to expand through acquisition, knowing in a roundabout way it'll help de-risk our development projects and our development pipeline.
So I think, and correct me if you know if I'm wrong here, but I think the number that I heard was for every one new unit that comes online here in Halifax, 11 existing affordable units are just sort of taken off the stock. Is that? Have you heard that number at all, or?
I mean, anecdotally, I've certainly seen it in terms of the types of folks that come in looking to live in a Rooted property. It's very real. It's very prevalent. And it makes sense. I mean, in my mind, that you've got these kind of competing kind of priorities in the rental market with rising expenses kind of coming from left, right, and center, and the speculative market because of this kind of two-tier control system kind of pushing things too. It's tough out there right now, and this is a fabulous response from the province. Like I commend them for taking the initiative. This is on a national scale. Nova Scotia, outside of British Columbia, and I believe maybe even PEI, we're the only ones that have this type of fund, right? It's a leading tool in the community housing space. When I go to national kind of conferences or have discussions with folks in Ontario and Quebec, I mean, they're just in awe of this program and the impact it's able to have and support kind of preserving that naturally occurring affordable housing, like to your point earlier, that is just being kind of, it's evaporating, right before us. So.
And so now walk me through a bit about the tenants of these buildings. I mean, will they be dealing with Rooted as their landlord or private landlords? How will that work?
Yeah, no, so we acquire the properties wholly, so we're their landlords, and we have our own in-house property management team and capital repair team. So those two divisions will evaluate these new opportunities and figure out, because they are cash flow positive right from day one, figure out how to reinvest those returns and leverage those returns that we're getting right now with other government programming, whether it's through improvements in capital repairs, energy efficiencies, and minimizing the amount of increase in rents. It's trying to find that balance. That's something that we work on as an organization. It's kind of this concept around profit for purpose. So we're buying existing portfolios that do have near market rents in them, trying to find the best, most impactful way to reinvest those into kind of the broader kind of net benefit of our organization, whether it's through growth or through specific kind of capital repairs or stabilizing rents. That's kind of the secret sauce that we're playing with, but it seems to be working really well. I mean, we're seeing kind of pretty immediate feedback that even just, I think the idea that a building is owned now by a nonprofit, and there's this kind of, I mean, we have a mandate to serve the community. We're a community entity. Yeah. So having that kind of that protection, that cocoon, knowing that it's, the possibility for speculative rental increases kind of out the window now, but we're also at the same time we're responsible landlords that understand our obligations of being a landlord and keeping up with properties. I think people are excited. We're getting really, really strong feedback from these from new tenants.
So what is it that we need the most to keep affordable units affordable into the future? Because the issue that I've certainly seen and come up against time and time again is people leaving their unit, they're moving for whatever reason, landlord jacks up the rent and it's no longer affordable. So what do we need to keep affordable and deeply affordable units status quo?
It's a great question. From my perspective, I would say it's more community housing. So groups that have a focus to protect the kind of the, some of those parameters that might impact rent, like affordability in particular. And that's like, when I talk about community housing, so there's kind of three prongs. There's public housing, there's co-op housing, and nonprofit housing, which Rooted is a part of. So I say right now we're at 2-3%. There's a million papers out there that would suggest kind of the economic impacts and the drivers. Having a nice, stable rental market, requires or community housing, non-market housing to make up, much as 20% of the rental market. So we've got a long ways to go. It's real estate's a long game anyways. So I think that we just need to stay focused. I think of Rooted in particular, stay focused on just growth. And not getting too bogged down with kind of near-term affordability, what that looks like. It's about just having it under the protection of a nonprofit group first and foremost, and then we can figure out how to be creative to find social impacts with affordability as programming and stuff comes up. Especially it'd be safe to say that there's some austerity measures that may be coming down the pipeline. So having an organization like Rooted that's understands sustainability and can weather the kind of the seasonality of programming and governments in general.
Yeah. So now the residents in these units, are there support or wraparound services provided? Does Rooted do that as well, or is this just a strict landlord-tenant relationship?
Rooted itself is bricks and mortar, catch-all affordability, but we've got strong, because we're so like the community housing space is it's a close-knit community, and we have strong relationships with folks that do wraparound services, pretty much in all of them, I would dare say, and have kind of arrangements with a lot of our portfolio and integrating their services into our program. But we try to focus on what we know and what we do well, which is development, ownership, and property management, capital repairs.
True
and
enough.
then
but
you guys
also have the expertise to recognize when something is not right, and you can call for backup, as they say.
Without a doubt, yeah. So where our staff are, we do training and lunch and learns, and to understand kind of that space and always stay on top of it to make sure, as we're kind of oftentimes the front lines, we're the first person that, when we see a warning sign, we're really well. I think our staff are really tapped in and tuned into how we can, again, just add more benefit to the community and our tenants.
So, this initiative, you see this fitting into broader provincial housing goals, but do you think this model can offer some lessons to other municipalities or community housing groups elsewhere in Canada?
Oh yeah, big time. So I'm getting calls, all the time from other groups and jurisdictions, and I'm sure the provinces as well, about the impact. And I think that's the role we're rooted, where I think we've purchased more units than anyone across the country as a nonprofit this past year on the real impact and the benefit. Like we have to tangibly show why this is a good investment in taxpayer dollars. And so we're working on that right now to be able to clearly communicate that. So it isn't anecdotal. It's meat and potatoes, dollars and cents, which is important when you're talking about taxpayer dollars.
Absolutely. All right, I'll leave it there for now. Nick Russell, Chief Executive Officer for Rooted, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for telling us about this.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, take care. Have a great day. All right, it is 10:28, and we're going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Good morning. It is 10:34, and you are always welcome here. We're going to dive into a story now that combines conservation, big ideas, and big challenges. It's a group called the Whale Sanctuary Project, and they're working to establish North America's first coastal refuge for retired captive whales and dolphins, and it's due to be installed along the eastern shore. They have secured a 20-year lease for the sanctuary site, but organizers say they now need about $15 million in order to finish building that underwater enclosure and the supporting infrastructure that will allow them to bring the first whales to their to the new home, hoping summer this year. So the project is hoping to provide a more natural environment for animals retiring from marine parks, and it's a vision that's drawn excitement but also raising some questions about feasibility and funding. To talk about it all is Lori Marino, who is a neuroscientist, an animal intelligence and behavior expert, currently is president of the sanctuary. Lori, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Listen, really excited to find out about this. Can you explain what the Whale Sanctuary Project is trying to build here in Nova Scotia, why Nova Scotia, first of all, and how this is going to be different from traditional marine enclosures?
Sure. The sanctuary site in Nova Scotia on the eastern shore is a natural bay, part of a bay that is going to be netted off and will be continuous with the ocean. And the whole point of a sanctuary is to give back to the whales who are confined to tanks something of a natural life, something that they've been deprived of by being part of an entertainment park. They'll still be fed and cared for, but they will have orders of magnitude more space than they have. They will have a natural environment. They won't be forced to perform and do all kinds of things. So it's really the best of all worlds for them. They can't be let loose into the ocean because they don't know how to feed themselves. So this is the best way to essentially give back to them all that they've been deprived of by living in entertainment parks. And the reason we chose this particular site in Nova Scotia is, one, because of the people in Sherbrooke who actually were the ones who proposed the site.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We went up and down the coast and had community meetings. And when we were in Sherbrooke, the people there just loved the idea, and they asked us to look at the site. And then we did all kinds of studies and found that this is a good site. It's a site that actually has all the physical characteristics needed for a sanctuary for orcas or belugas. And the people in Sherbrooke have been absolutely wonderful, and we can't do it without them. So they are part of the team.
Well, like the song says, wish I was in Sherbrooke now. The latest reports say that this project needs about $15 million if you're to open by the end of the summer this year. What makes that fundraising deadline so important?
That deadline is important for the purposes of bringing two orcas, we have basically, let me explain, there are two orcas in Marineland Antibes in France who may come to our sanctuary. If they do, we would need to bring them by the end of the summer in order to acclimate them to the colder temperatures of the water in Nova Scotia. They will be fine. The temperatures are within the appropriate range for their species, but we want to make sure that they'll be comfortable, and so we want to bring them by the end of the summer so they have time. Now, if it were the case for beluga whales in Marineland, Canada, they are much more acclimated to colder temperatures, so we wouldn't necessarily have that same timeline for them. But yes, we are looking for about $15 million to complete this project, and that includes the net, the bay pen, the medical lift, the buildings, all of the utilities, just about everything that we would need to care for the animals.
And now, when everything comes together, what species or individual animals will be able to live together at the sanctuary?
Well, if we had two species, orcas and belugas, we would separate them. And we have over 100 acres of water space.
Okay.
And that means that we can separate the area and still provide a tremendous amount of space for both species to live and to swim.
And so the $15 million, what are you guys doing right now to help raise that money?
Well, we have a few potential large donors that we are working with, and we also have a large group of smaller donors. We are doing everything we can, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to solve this with bottle drives and a 50-50.
No. This is an expensive project. It's expensive because of the nets and bay pen that are needed for the animals. It's expensive because of the way we want to do this. We want to do it right. We want to make sure that we provide a good home for the animals. This is not just about throwing a net in the ocean and putting animals in it. This will be a full veterinary service. We will work with the whales. So if we're going to do this, we want to do this right. And we want this to be a template for the creation of more cetacean sanctuaries around the world. There are 3,600 whales and dolphins living in entertainment parks around the world.
Wow.
And we're not going to solve this whole problem with one sanctuary.
And, I would suspect that as opinions change about these types of entertainment facilities, there'll be more and more belugas and other assorted whales looking for retirement homes.
Absolutely. It is changing. More and more of these places are closing down or being forced to close down because of regulatory decisions. Marineland Canada, for instance, after the bill S-203 passed in 2019, could not breed any more of their animals, and now they're selling their property, and they have 30 belugas on their hands. In France, the same thing. Marineland Antibes has some dolphins and 2 remaining orcas. The French government decided to get out of the business of confining these beautiful animals for entertainment. Belgium, the same thing. Mexico, it's happening. And so what we need to do is meet that moment with sanctuaries for those individuals who are currently living in tanks.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea being, of course, that we could take this this infrastructure that you have here to, you built the sanctuary, but you can replicate that elsewhere in the world. Yeah,
exactly. It's really imperative in order for us to get to the point where we can say we're shifting the culture, the society from one that exploits these animals and keeps them confined in these impoverished cement tanks for our entertainment, to one that at the very least, gives back to them something of what we've taken from them. That's the way I look at it.
So, what about concerns from people who are worried about the practicality or the environmental impacts of the sanctuary?
We've done years of environmental tests. We've shown that there is no negative environmental impact of bringing the whales. We would not be able to get our lease if we had not done those studies. So we have pages and pages and pages of data showing that this is not going to be detrimental to the physical environment, nor to the other animals living in that area.
And I would suspect, too, a big part of the journey that you're on right now is just trying to navigate government. And, I mean, I don't imagine this is something that government has had much, if any, experience. So you're really blazing a trail with them when it comes to a project like this.
Absolutely. A few years ago when we walked into the offices of DNR, we said we want to create a whale sanctuary. I'm sure they had no idea what we were thinking. And they've had to be on a learning curve with us.
Yeah.
And so it's been, we're trying to do something that's never been done before. The closest that they have is perhaps a fish farm or something like that, which is not anything like what we want to create. So they have been on this journey with us. Yes.
Awesome. Well, listen, Lori, thank you so very much for joining us this morning and telling us more about the whale sanctuary. Looking forward to keeping an eye on this story and seeing where you go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right. You have a great day. Thanks. You too. Bye-bye. All right. That was Lori Marino, who is a neuroscientist and expert in animal behavior and intelligence and current president of the Whale Sanctuary Project here in Nova Scotia. It is 10:46. Time to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies. You're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. It is 10:49. Cloudy and 7 degrees here in Halifax. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Lisa Blackburn, sitting in for a few days anyway. Dan will be back on the 26th. And the NHL Central Scouting unveiled its midterm rankings for the 2026 NHL Draft on Monday night. And lo and behold, 44 players from the Quebec Major Junior Hockey, or the Quebec Maritimes Junior Hockey League, are on that list, including 22 forwards, 13 defensemen, and 9 goaltenders. To tell us more and discuss what this is going to mean for the Mooseheads, hey, joining us this morning, we have the voice of the Mooseheads, Garreth MacDonald. Good morning, Garreth. Good morning, Lisa. How are you? I'm doing great. How are you doing? Oh, I'm just fabulous. Excellent. Great to be chatting with you. Well, listen, this is really exciting news for the Quebec Maritime. I have trouble. I still refer to it as the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, so please forgive me if I slip into that. I don't think you're alone. There. It definitely, it catches me from time to time still. Yeah. I know we got a team in Newfoundland now as well, so they're already pushing to change the name. It took about, almost 30 years to get the Maritimes in there, and now we have a team in Newfoundland again. So it might be the QA, exactly, JHL at some point if they get their way. So the midseason NHL draft prospect rankings are out, and we've got several of those players on the list. What is this going to mean for the Mooseheads that multiple players from Halifax are popping up there?
Yeah, it's. I guess we could say we're already seeing some of the returns based on those rankings, right? It's this is still a young Mooseheads team, one of the youngest teams in the queue right now. A lot of 16-year-olds. You got 3 16-year-olds. Just a pile of 17-year-old guys, and then you have a few 18-year-olds. A guy like Eddie Doyle, who's on that list. He's got the late birthday, just turned 18 back on November 8th. So the cutoff for the NHL draft it's September 15th. So a lot of the guys in his birth year, they would have been draft eligible last year, but again with the late birthday, Eddie Doyle. He finds himself on this list, and I think that's a good thing for him if you look at it. Since he was drafted from the Kensington Wild a couple of years back, this is a guy that's put on a ton of size. I think he was about 5'10" and 140 pounds when he got drafted by the Moose, and now he's up to 6'3", and he's right around 200 pounds. So he is a big body blue liner right now. So not a big surprise to see him on that list.
But who are some of are there other Mooseheads players that are ranked?
Yeah, so you got Eddie Doyle there at number 66. After him would be Oleg Kulibiakin. He's a new face in the lineup this year. He's just listed 2 picks after. They got him at 68th among North American skaters. He is a Russian player, but again, since he's playing in North America, he ends up on the North American list. The NHL Central Scouting, they do a North American list and the European list. But again, Kulibiakin playing here with the Moose, he is on that North American list, and he's been a fantastic story. Just turned 18 over the weekend, first season in the queue, and right now leading the Mooseheads in points. He's got 41 in the year, second in goals with 21. He's a player that arrived as a sniper. He played in North America last year, was playing in the U.S. with the Carolina Hurricanes junior program, and it's a U16 program that was led by a former NHLer, Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams, and with that program, he was a goal-a-game player. But this year with the Moose, really he kind of established himself as a dual-threat guy. I mean, some of his best highlights this year have been plays in which he shows his playmaking prowess. He's had some unbelievable setups, and he is, like I said, just a real good story for the team. A great pick in the import draft, and a guy that has certainly supplied a whole pile of highlight reel moments. And then you got Nick Circa on that list as well. Moose said 17-year-old netminder. He's ranked 20th among North American goalies, and I think you got to be a goalie coach to really break down goaltending these days. But I think what's
goalies
evident,
are like drummers; they're a different breed.
Yeah, that's it. Goalies are voodoo. That's sometimes how I've heard it described. But yeah, he's a guy that he's got great size, great athleticism, 6'3", 170 pounds. Again, that big size there, that is. That's what gets you on the list. I mean, we've seen some really good goalies over the years with the Mooseheads. You can look back to Mathis Rousseau, who won a Q championship last year after getting traded to Moncton. But he was under that 6 foot limit, and it's tough for guys that are on the smaller size to get drafted, to get a shot at the pro level. But Nick Circa certainly has that size on his hand, on his side, and then after that you got Danny Walters, who. For me, this is great to see. He's certainly listed a little further down. I think they got him 147th, if I read that correctly earlier on. But he's a guy that just he's a Halifax kid. Was the team's first round pick last year in the draft. He comes in at 17. During the trade period, the Mooseheads dealt one of their veteran defensemen, Mathieu Taillefer, and he got shipped off to Blainville. And since he got traded, Danny Walters now wearing a letter for the team. He's an alternate captain for road games, and at just 17, I think that tells you a lot about the respect that he's got within the organization, within that Mooseheads dressing room. And I think when you look at hockey today, the game at every level has never been more skilled than it is right now.
Yeah,
so
and
skill
fast.
Skill, exactly, yeah. Skill coaches, skating coach, everybody's pretty much got one at the elite level these days. So So skill is no longer much of a different. It doesn't really separate you. What separates guys today? It can be the compete, the battle level.
Yeah.
Just the sheer will, and that's certainly what I think gets Danny Walters on this list.
So now, in these mid-season rankings, how do they compare to where these Mooseheads players were rated at the beginning of the year? I mean, what does this say about their development in such a short period of time?
Yeah, so it's with the preliminary rankings, it's a little bit. I don't think they number. They don't, I guess, give you a numerical ranking on the preliminary ranking. So there were some, I think, just more general A, B, C. But I mean, you look at a player like Eddie Doyle. He's certainly been trending upward throughout the season. The Q did. For the first time ever, they had a prospects game. So it was just Q League players that are draft eligible. That was back in Sherbrooke at the end of October. And Eddie Doyle was not originally on that list, but just with the play that we saw from him early in the season, all the growth in his game, becoming one of the most reliable blue liners on that Mooseheads back end. He did. I think he was an injury fill-in, and I mean, you look at it right now. He went from just I think barely getting an invite to that event to now being one of the top ranked players heading into the draft from the Q up to 66, highest ranked Moosehead. So yeah, I mean I think that certainly speaks to some of the good coaching, the opportunities that these guys are getting here in Halifax. Well,
and seeing a lot of Cape Breton names on this list as well. So, certainly we're spreading the love around. A lot of Cape Breton, a lot from St. John, the Sea Dogs.
Yeah, St. John, they've certainly got a very talented young team as well. Oliver Smurniks from the Latvian World Junior team, he's been a pretty good story. Cameron Chartrand, blue liner, he's on that team. Then a little further down, I think you got Dylan Rozzi and Will Yarrett. They were two of the top scoring rookies last year at 16. They're on that list as well. It's a pretty impressive representation, I would say, from the Q on this latest Central Scouting list for sure.
All right. Thank you so very much for breaking that down for us. Garreth MacDonald, the voice of the Mooseheads. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we chat a little later on this week about all things Moosehead, so looking forward to having that conversation.
All right. Sounds great. Wonderful to chat with you, Lisa.
Take care, Garreth.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was Garreth MacDonald, the voice of the Mooseheads. It is 10:58. We're going to take a quick break for the news. Blake Priddle is standing by. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And welcome back. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Time now to answer your health questions. It's House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. And we're going to be taking your calls here this morning, discussing your health issues. 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Give us a call and ask Dr. John Gillis your questions. Good morning, Dr. Gillis.
Good morning. How we doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing?
I can't complain too much.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Well, listen, before we go to the phones, cold and flu season feels absolutely endless. How are we doing so far this season? And, maybe give us a quick hint on when someone should stop managing symptoms at home and call their doctor.
Yeah, look, we're seeing a lot of it still. I was in the ER yesterday, and just a lot of colds, flus, all the stuff. It's always a hard one. Most of the stuff, viral illnesses, if you are not having trouble breathing, if you can keep yourself hydrated, meaning you're not having, gastro symptoms coming out both ends, if you're able to keep fluids down, a lot of the time there's not much we can do. And we certainly see a lot of frustrated people who spend 6 hours waiting in the ER to be told they have a respiratory virus and there's nothing we can do for them.
Just wait it out.
I understand that's frustrating, and some of that comes back to education. A lot of these things are symptom management. Coughs can be managed with cough suppressants. The drugs with DM in the name, which is dextromethorphan, are the best. A lot of people really don't think about treating aches and pains and fevers. And what I often preach to people is take regular Tylenol or Advil. They're different drugs, but they do the same thing. And if it's not cutting it, you can alternate them. You can take Tylenol, then Advil, then Tylenol. And often that's enough to make a big difference.
Okay. And does cold weather really affect joint pain and arthritis, or is that just a myth?
No, I think that's true. Changes in atmospheric pressure, dampness, humidity, all those things, happens to us all. I notice my gimpy old knee bugs me when it's damp and cold and makes me want to move to Florida. But
that'll be the rugby, right?
Yeah. Then I look at what's going on in Florida and I'm like, no, I think I'll chill here for now.
Yeah. 902-405-6000 is the local number, 1-877-801-8255 if you are out of town. We are taking your calls here for House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. And first up this morning is Ron. Good morning, Ron.
Morning. I'd like to ask the doctor about vitamins, the ones that people take pill form. I don't take very many. I'm just wondering if they're really worth it. Do they work or whatever? I'll just give you a few that I take. Vitamin D is pretty much a given, but the B6, B12 combination, and magnesium, omega-3 fish oils, and the other one is the Centrium 50 Plus. I'm just wondering which one of those can I eliminate, or do I have to take them all, or?
Well, I mean, the short answer is you don't have to do anything. I mean, most people get most of what they need through diet if they eat a balanced diet. Of the ones you mentioned, I think the one I probably see that's consistently low with people is vitamin D. Vitamin D is necessary for bone growth and health and metabolism. And, we develop vitamin D. We get vitamin D from diet, but also from being exposed to the sun. Being exposed to the sun, your body through the skin helps make and convert vitamin D. When we live in the nether regions where it's winter, cold many months of the year, we're not outside, we're not getting sun. People's, vitamin D levels tend to drop, particularly in this climate in the winter. So that's an important one to take. The other ones we often test. We often test B vitamins, and some people are low, and those can be beneficial. And so nothing you're taking there is harmful or bad. It's just the question is, what are you taking it for, and do you need it? And that's pretty individual. I mean, some people take magnesium for sleep and for restless legs. Most people probably don't need that magnesium, but some people do. And again,
that was the other. Yeah, the magnesium one. Magnesium one, that's why I only started taking that recently, and that's because of the sleep thing, or it's good for your brain or something, I don't know. But the other one was that Centrium 50 Plus, because I was at the doctor, two different doctors, and I asked them the same questions, and one said yes, one said no. So I don't know which one's, because I think it's because it covers so much, it's so broken down so much that it just doesn't, you don't get the whole benefit from it all.
Yeah, my answer about multivitamins is I don't think there's harm in them. And if you're worried about the completeness of your diet, I mean, I try to eat well, but I'm on the run all the time, and I don't always eat well. So I take a few things just to supplement. But it sounds like what you have is a pretty reasonable group of things. You're not taking some, weird herbal root that grows on the back of a yak at elevation in the Himalayas because somebody on YouTube told you should pay $500 to do it. So
Anyway, the other question was the Metamucil I see advertised, the gummies. Do they really have that much fiber in them? That I don't get that. Maybe you can explain that to me.
I think it's a little bit of marketing and a little bit of it's easier to take than what Metamucil used to be. You had to mix it up, and it looked like
thick orange glop.
Yeah. I'll spare the description I was going to use, but yeah. So I think it's just a nicer way to take it, and gummies have become a popular delivery method for our friend Mary Jane as well, and having fiber in your diet is a good thing. It keeps people regular. There's some evidence, that by keeping yourself moving, it helps with weight loss and that sort of thing as well. So,
I was taking Metamucil. I was taking Metamucil for cholesterol. Actually, it's supposed to work for that too. So.
Yeah, it does have a benefit. So, it sounds like all the things you're doing are reasonable. So,
all right.
Keep at it. Okay. Keep healthy.
All right, Ron.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call for House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. And joining us now is David. Hey, David, welcome.
Hello.
Hello there. You've got a question for Dr. Gillis.
I do. I'm wondering how accurate Lyme disease tests are, blood tests.
Well,
how long do you have to discuss that one? Depends who you talk to. I think most people in the business think they're very accurate. There is I would say, an active skeptic meets conspiracy theory that think that they're not accurate and that you have to send your blood to Germany to get the better test. That, depending on who you talk to, if you ask people in the infectious disease world here, they'll say that, those tests are designed to, pick up any piece of a bacteria that could be in Lyme and could be in about 50 other things, which is why they tweak positive when they're subjected to those tests. So, I have not personally in my career found anybody that I felt was missed by a standard Lyme test, but there are people who feel that way. The problem with Lyme is it mimics symptoms of many other conditions, and there are people that may well have missed Lyme disease, and that's that shouldn't be ignored. There are also people out there who are spending thousands of dollars to go to the States to be pumped full of drugs for something that is probably not Lyme and maybe some other medical condition or a mental health condition. So it's a hard thing to pull apart.
Right. Yeah. No, I did have a test for Lyme. It was negative. I was bit by a tick, but it didn't amount to anything. It never even turned red. But you're exactly right. This is what I was told, that our tests weren't accurate. They had to be sent to the U.S. But anyway, that kind of answers my question. I do feel tired at times, but I do have another condition that is bone marrow related. There's blast cells in my bone marrow, so my platelets are low. So I guess that, it does. And my platelets right now are holding at 69. And my hematologist tells me that as long as I'm there and this doesn't go any lower, I'm fine. But there's days that I beg to differ sometimes, but it is what it is.
I hope you do well, sir. Have a good day. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, David. All right.
Okay.
405-6000 is the number to call, or 1-877-801-8255. And that brings up a question, because at the top of the show, I was talking about the quality time that we spent at the Metro Vet Emerge last night with our dog, who was diagnosed with Lyme disease. And it's a test that they were, within 8 minutes, they had the answers. Why is it that we can diagnose, our pets faster than we can ourselves when it comes to Lyme?
Well, that's an interesting one, and I may get myself in trouble here. It depends what test is being used, and I'd love to have a chat with a vet about and learn about what tests they're using. They're using point of care tests as opposed to tests that need to be sent to the lab. Those do exist. I don't know if they're as accurate as they can be. My dog was diagnosed with Lyme disease because he popped positive and was on $600 worth of antibiotics that for a human would have been $20. And I try to park my I'm not a veterinarian. I don't know this stuff. Or is this just, pills for the sake of pills for my dog, who I obviously want to be healthy and do this sort of thing. So it seems to be the treatment du jour for dogs in these parts. And, I do wonder about the nature of the test. And in talking about this, I'm sure I'm going to hear about it. So, as I often do when I open my mouth. So,
all right. Well, if anyone wants to comment, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. It is 11:17, and we're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. 8 degrees, and looks like we've got some heavy rain happening out there. You're with House Calls with Dr. John Gillis, and we're just going to get Dr. John back on the line. But in the meantime, if you have any health-related questions that you would like to ask the doctor, 902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. Interesting story that's just out is Health Canada is now requiring, and we just spoke about this, vitamin D. Health Canada now requiring milk and margarine producers to more than double the amount of vitamin D in their products. According to the health agency, 1 in 5 Canadians aren't getting enough of the so-called sunshine vitamin. Now, of course, as we've touched on, lack of sunlight, that's a huge issue, and we need that in order to produce the vitamin D. Of course, the reality being that we don't make vitamin D from, 6 to 8 months of the year because we're not exposed to the sun. So, this high latitude that we are at results in shorter days and less intense sunshine during the winter months. And so that is all factoring in. But, that has been concerning for experts for many, many years who say that vitamin D is an essential element. It helps the body absorb calcium. And, of course, that is huge for bones, teeth, and for some of us older women of a certain age. Of course, it's very important to help prevent osteoporosis and other situations like that. Now, Health Canada has required milk and other products to have vitamin D added in it for decades, but it's now increased the amount of vitamin D to ensure more people are meeting the recommended daily dose. And Dr. Gillis, we were discussing vitamin D earlier. How much direct sunlight do you need per day to get the proper amount of vitamin D?
I think there's a direct answer to that. Everybody metabolizes differently. I mean, I think one thing that is important to do is, when you get your so-called routine blood work, is to check your vitamin D levels. Some people with their normal activity are fine. Other people, even with moderate to frequent exposure, don't absorb, don't convert, and need to be checked. So, it's not like the drink 8 glasses of water a day. I can't tell you to go, sit on Citadel Hill and, chill for 2 hours a day and you'll be good. It's very individual, diet related. There's vitamin D in milk. I drink a lot of milk. If I'm ever low on vitamin D, there's something wrong. People who don't do that, people who are, vegans or don't get a lot of sunlight, or, everybody's different. So the bottom line is something to measure. I'm not a big fan of frequent blood work just for the sake of it, but that's one thing that is worth checking on a more regular basis. And
now the screen for vitamin D, is that part of just a regular routine blood screening, or would you have to, specifically say to your doctor, hey, I'd like to check my vitamin D levels?
I mean, there really is no such thing as a routine screening. It's what people decide to order. I would say it's a fairly common thing that is ordered nowadays, but, not everybody would need it, and not every doc would include it. But I would say it's pretty common in a fairly standard panel.
And, moving on to another topic to do with mental health. I mean, people do feel more tired, or they seem to, in the winter. How can you tell the difference between just your normal seasonal fatigue and something that should be checked by a doctor?
It's a good question. And, the seasons affect us all. I mean, there are days you get up and it's snowing and it's -10 and it's black and the leaves have blown another lead and, all the stuff. Donald Trump said or done something stupid and you're just like, I don't want to get out of bed today. But, most of us get up and carry on. It's when it starts to interfere with your day-to-day life. You're not motivated. It's affecting your ability to function. You feel down. Other people notice that your mood is down. Maybe you're not eating, you're not sleeping as well, or maybe you're sleeping too much. Changes in your behavior that are out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's hard to notice. But we do see people, often enough that do need treatment for seasonal affective disorder, and it's a real thing. For most of us, it's just like the winter sucks. We'll get through it, but some people do need a bit of help. So keep an eye out for your friends and family, and send them to Arizona as much as possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I think
maybe
that's
Mexico,
yes, or the Dominican. And I guess that's something that is, I think, probably more noticeable to others than it would be to yourself. I think it would, something that others around you would notice first.
That's it. I mean, in a medical context, you see someone a moment in time. Maybe they're seeing you because their foot hurts. They're not seeing you for their mood. It's really what you notice, about people on a day-to-day basis and what's different from their normal. I mean, it's hard to pick that up. The ER is 10 times worse for that. Someone's there for an acute problem. They're focused on that. You're focused on that. The place is a mess. You're not focused on, necessarily as much to look at all the other things that are relevant because you're focused on the problem while they're there. It often is incumbent on, friends and family to notice these things.
Yeah. And, a lot of times, too, and certainly it's been my experience. I used to have a family doctor that you would go there and talk. My God, he would talk. You'd be in there for, his waiting room would be backed up, but you'd be in there 30 minutes and he's just there. And you figure he's just, shooting the breeze. But it took me a long time to realize that no. Those questions he was asking, those conversations that we were having, he was drawing out information and, perhaps learning more about things going on with me or my body that I might not have been going there for the visit. That might not be the reason for the visit.
Well, look, that's part of the art of medicine, and I think we're all trained that. And with time, you learn to read people. You get somebody who comes in and they tell you that I'm here for a sore ankle. But they just look deflated. They look like crap. There's obviously something else going on, and you want to ask about those things. You want to engage in that. We see people who have physical symptoms that are related to trauma, mental health, abuse, all sorts of different things. And of course, you want to be able to identify that. The problem in the context of our system where it is right now is a lot of people don't have primary care. Encounters where there is more time to assess that person and to, look at the whole person. And again, 3:00 in the morning in the emerge when someone's in with chest pain and the place is, burning down around us isn't necessarily the best environment to do even though, you feel you want to, it's important, it's important, but you're focused on the most immediate fire, not on, how somebody's feeling on a week-to-week basis. And that makes it tougher to pick up those things in that environment.
405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John Gillis is here to take your health questions. It is 11:28. Going to take a quick break for the news. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. It is 11:35, and welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm taking the helm here for a few days. Dan Ahlstrand will be back on January the 26th, and we are in the midst of our House Calls segment with Dr. John Gillis. And Dr. Gillis, we had somebody send in an email and says that I've had an extremely sore throat, ear pain, coughing, some mucus, fever, chills, body aches, fatigue. I've taken 6 COVID tests. They've all come back negative. I went to the doctor. She tested me for strep, which was negative, but she did give me amoxicillin. I'm self-treating with Motrin, Mucinex, and cough drops, but there's just no end in sight. I still feel like crap, and it's been 11 days. I'm not sure what to do. Is it normal to be sick with a virus for so long? Should I go back to the doctor or hospital? Yikes, 11 days. What say you, Dr. John?
A couple of things there. First of all, we are seeing some of these viruses drag that long. I wouldn't say it's normal, but it's happening and sounds like doing all the right things. Going back to the hospital is not going to yield anything of much use, unless, as I alluded to earlier, there's an issue with dehydration, from vomiting or diarrhea, or this, sometimes even if it is a viral illness, the inflammation can make breathing difficult, or you do get a secondary pneumonia. It doesn't sound like that's the case. I'm not sure what the amoxil's for, if the strep test was negative, but there must have been some reason. So the short answer is it probably is just a virus that's lagging. We're seeing this. That's kicking the crap out of people. It is likely influenza, but it could be something else. But if you feel unwell, you can't keep yourself hydrated, you're struggling to breathe, it is definitely worth getting checked. If you're just, not to minimize it, but if you're just tired, feeling achy and rotten, but you're able to, keep yourself hydrated, it's probably just a matter of waiting it out, even though that, truly sucks.
All right, 902-405-6000. Hope that helped our caller. Thank you for the email. 1-877-801-8255 is the number to call. And James is on the line with a question. Good morning, James.
Hi, good morning. I'm calling about an article in the Halifax Chronicle-Herald today. Someone in Cape Breton, civilian, fellow who owns a construction company, has called a meeting in his county, Inverness County, regarding the topic of inpatient addiction treatment facilities. And the MLA is coming, the councillor's coming. And Nova Scotia Health is coming. It's a public meeting. According to the article, the Cape Breton Regional Hospital detox unit or inpatient addiction treatment unit closed recently due to staff shortages. And the other one on the island at the Strait Richmond Hospital closed several years ago. I know there are actually some facilities in Halifax that of that nature that are functioning, but looking more provincial-wide, Dr. Russ, what do you think? How important is it to have inpatient drug detox, or whatever the terminology should be, facilities?
It's very important. And, we have ongoing issues with alcohol addiction, opiate addiction, as we've seen, more drugs come onto the scene, people having issues with meth and, various other drugs. And there's definitely a shortage, of treatment facilities. It's a staff issue, it's a funding issue, and, it's part of the global strain of the health system. But, in some parts of the province, I think, why we're seeing some concern in Inverness County and Cape Breton there's been a real drop-off in the service and a surge in the need. And it's reached a very difficult point, which is why we're seeing a need for action. But, unfortunately, this is, just one of the areas that's really struggling, and it's good to see people taking action. And I hope some good comes of it, and some new ideas, to provide these services come of it to help people in need.
Well, I'm glad you're supportive, and if you're circulating in all the right circles, maybe you can put in a good word to try to get something concrete done. But I'm not expecting that's not on your day-to-day job description, probably.
Well, I don't mind opening my mouth. It's just a matter of if anyone listens to me. So I'll see what I can do.
All right,
okay,
James.
Anyway, if you're interested, it's in the Herald. It's a very good article.
All right, we'll
I'll
look
take a
that
look.
up.
Thank you for raising it.
Yeah. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
James. Thanks for calling.
Yep.
902-405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-801-8255. And next up is Jeff with a question. Good morning, Jeff, and welcome.
Yeah. Yes, good morning to both of you. Dr. Gillis, I've acquired a bad head cold. Is it normal for my blood pressure to be the upper 150s to upper 170s? And the second question, if I may, does it help or hinder every so many hours alternating to a different med, or is it wiser to stick with the same med?
So the first question, if your blood pressure's up to 170, that's not normal. I mean, I don't know what your baseline is or if you're treated, but, sometimes when people are sick or feeling, off, their blood pressure can go up because of stress. Sometimes it's the opposite. You get dehydrated, you're unwell, your pressure may actually drop. So, I'd keep a close eye on that. If it continues to be really high, you may have to get that checked.
Are there some cold medications that can impact that?
Yeah, so some of the decongestants, they have pseudoephedrine in them that can jump up your blood pressure a little bit. Some of the antihistamines like Claritin and Reactin, some of those formulations come with a decongestant, which is usually pseudoephedrine. That can bump your pressure up a bit. So it could be that. Again, for a few days, I wouldn't panic about it. If it's persistently high or you have a headache or anything like that, you should get it checked. In terms of meds, I guess it depends what you're talking about. I alluded to this earlier, is that I preach this, to whoever will listen. If you've got the flu or a viral illness and you're achy or have a fever, properly dose yourself with either acetaminophen, also known as Tylenol, or ibuprofen, also known as Advil or Motrin, and take it regularly. The biggest problem is when people choose either of those drugs, they don't take enough, meaning they take too little and they don't take it often enough. So I'll see it all the time at the Emerge where, Mrs. Jones is in with viral symptoms. I'm like, see her, 6 p.m. in the evening. Have you taken anything? Oh, I took one Tylenol regular strength at 8 a.m. this morning. Well, not enough and gone in 4 to 6 hours. So it's the regularity and the proper dose that's important. And that's, read the bottle. Some people, if they're feeling really rotten, I strongly recommend alternating. Take Tylenol, 3 hours later, take ibuprofen, back to the Tylenol. It prevents you from taking too much of either, and it gives you consistent coverage. And, it may sound silly, but it really works well.
And you can
extrapolating
take
to some
strength.
Common illnesses. Sorry, what's that?
You can take full strength if you're bouncing back and forth. You can take full strength Advil and then full strength Tylenol.
Yeah, absolutely. They're different drugs. So,
Dr. Gillis, Dr. Gillis, my last question is the philosophy: if one is good, two is better. That's not a good approach, is it?
Not as a blanket. It depends what the condition is and what you're trying to do. If you're managing with just acetaminophen, that's great, or just with ibuprofen, that's great. There are instances where both is better. For short periods of time. And, there are, one good example that we talk about from time to time on the program is ear infections in kids. There's some very good evidence that if you aggressively treat fever and pain, these infections resolve themselves. They don't need the cascade of antibiotics. And, why do kids, complain to mom and dad and end up in the hospital? It's because they're in pain. It's not just because of the diagnosis and or because they feel crappy with a fever. If you can treat the fever and the pain, that makes the patient feel better, but it also can give the body time to resolve the infection in that particular case. But again, if you're feeling rotten, help yourself and properly medicate yourself, with the caveat that if it's not working or it's getting worse, you should always get yourself checked.
Thank you to both of you. Thank you very much.
All right, Jeff, thank you, and hopefully you're feeling better soon, my dear. All right, 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. It is 11:45, and this is House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. And it is 11:48. A peak of sunshine trying to emerge out there. We're at 8 degrees, and you are with the Todd Veinotte Show. This is House Calls with Dr. John Gillis. And Dr. Gillis, quick question about, something. I'm just wondering, actually, how are we doing for COVID so far this season? Haven't heard a lot about COVID outbreaks. How is Nova Scotia doing in general?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything crazy happening. At this point, I think, in the professional world, we lump it all together. It's, viral respiratory illness. So, we're seeing a lot of it, but some of it's COVID, some of it's not. We do test, sort of not necessarily everybody, but, maybe older people if we're worried about, how they're going to do. It does affect how you treat them a little bit. For most people, there's not much point in testing anymore. If they have a viral respiratory illness, most of the care is supportive. Sometimes a steroid puffer is helpful. So it is out there. We're not seeing the terrible cases. And again, at the risk of beating the dead horse, a large reason for that is people have been immunized. They've kept up with their immunizations. It's not preventing the illness, but it is preventing the serious, progression of the illness. And, people who are a little more vulnerable from getting really, really sick.
Yeah, and I guess that's the key. I guess that's the key now. I mean, I guess, we have to accept that COVID is with us and it's here to stay. It's going to be a factor and one of those regular illnesses that we're going to see. And that's in large part because of the vaccines.
That's it. And look, there's been a lot of noise and a lot of, frustration, a lot of information and disinformation. At the end of the day, the biggest thing that the vaccines have done is, allow people to fight off the virus if they get it more quickly and to get less sick and to have better outcomes. And, so for most people who are healthy, they'll get a mild cold these days. For older, sicker people, they might get a little bit worse, but they're not ending up, in the ICU on a ventilator and dying. And that, that is the biggest outcome. And, we'd like to keep it that way. And, right now there's no freak bug out there, but, they come, and it's not like we get a wedding invitation with an RSVP that this stuff is coming. H1N1 came and, caused problems. COVID came and caused problems. There could be another one down the road. So, it speaks to, maintaining our vigilance, being prepared, but also, keeping society moving and open and, being reasonable about all these things.
902-405-6000 is the number, 1-877-801-8255. Phone lines are open and ready for your questions. House calls with Dr. John Gillis. And you mentioned misinformation and seeing a story from the Canadian Medical Association that, there's new research out there that highlights a growing number of Canadians are encountering or even affected by health misinformation. How much of that are you seeing in your practice, and are you spending a lot of time trying to combat misinformation?
I mean, I don't do as much primary care as some people. I mean, I do a lot of acute care in the emerge, and I do, treating people with chronic pain. So I'm not necessarily on the front line of that, but it has reared its head, in the last couple of years. I think for a couple of reasons. I mean, the ability to put anything on the internet and make a claim that people will then magnify and spread, is remarkable. And, if you want to lose a good couple of days of your life, just go down some of these rabbit holes of, anti-vaxxers and some of the, anti-government conspiracy theories that are out there. You'll give away, good time. But one of the things that is a real factor is the lunatic who's running the Health and Human Services Department in the U.S. I mean, RFK Jr. is no more qualified for that job than
I am.
Well, I think you'd be more qualified. I was going to say a beaver in my lake in Hubbard's. Who at least does something constructive and builds something every year. It's sad, what's happening, in terms of misinformation and changing, long established vaccine patterns and standards that have kept people safe for years. I mean, measles should be a no-brainer.
Well, and you know what? And I was just about to mention that because I was at Cobequid for a meeting last week, and as soon as you walk in the door, there's a big poster there talking about measles, and I thought, my God, I thought we were done with that. But I mean, measles is no longer an eliminated disease in Canada.
That's it. And look, without jumping too far down the rabbit hole, I do understand to a point why people are or were nervous about COVID vaccines because they're very new. I believe that the research done was as comprehensive as it could have been under the dire circumstances. And, as we unpack it afterwards, we are realizing that, there were some side effects, there were some adverse events, as there can be with any drug. And, part of the process is to analyze that and to determine which agent was better than another, which was safer, what can be changed, what can be tweaked. But, measles has been out there, the vaccine, for many years and kept people safe. Nobody's out there making claims. other than a few conspiracy theorists about autism. And, the data are overwhelming, but yet we still see this. And, it's personal choice is one thing, but when we have kids dying, particularly in Texas, of measles in, 2025, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. 405-6000 is the number if you have a question for Dr. John Gillis. Just another story that crossed the wire is a recall on no-name beef burgers, and recall due to a risk of E. coli. The burgers sold nationally, and that is something that can ruin a person's day, a whole week, and maybe beyond. What are some of the symptoms to watch for?
Mostly, E. coli is a gastrointestinal, bacteria that, can cause gastro symptoms, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and that sort of thing. In bad cases, certain strains can cause, worsening systemic illness and kidney failure and that sort of thing. That's very rare, but, that's one of the reasons why we see such caution when we see these outbreaks. And, again, it's, why we have food safety processes here in our country that, tend to err on the side of caution when they see these things to make sure people don't get very sick.
All right, 405-6000 is the number. Joining us right now is Dan. Dan has a question for House Calls. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Hey, doctor, I got a question here about folic acid in the baby's development. What specifically, why is it needed, folic acid? Why should the mother be taking it? And what sort of things could happen if there isn't a sufficient amount of folic acid for the baby's development?
Folic acid is, I guess, mainly used for, it's good for general development and blood health, but one of the biggest things is to prevent birth defects, what we call neural tube defects. So as, the very new embryo is developing and its neural pathways, proper folic acid levels have been shown to, prevent problems in birth defects. So it's sort of standard of care for any women that are, considering having a baby. And then there are, other benefits. You can become anemic if your folate level is low, meaning low red blood cells, which can affect mom and baby. Those are the biggest things. But it's, for expectant mothers, it's really the neural tube defects and neurologic development is the main reason.
And now, is that something, do you normally give a baby after birth folic acid, or is that something that once the baby is born, that's it, that ship has sailed, it's best to front end that folic acid?
No, it's something we typically give mothers. Mothers will need to take it as a supplement, in advance of and while pregnant.
All right, Dan.
Okay, yeah. That's all I had. Thank you, doctor.
All right. Thank you for calling, Dan. And listen, that is going to wrap up House Calls with Dr. John Gillis for this week. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and we'll do it again next week.
Chat then. Nice to talk to you. Take care.
All right. Thanks. Take care to you, too. It is 11:58, and we're going to take a quick break. Blake Priddle is standing by with the news, and then we're back. It is the Mid-Week Meltdown. This is my first, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. 12:06, 8 degrees and cloudy, and this is the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Lisa Blackburn, filling in until, I think it's January 26th, I think is when Dan Alstrand is back. So I'll keep the ship upright until then. It is time now for the Mid-Week Meltdown. The open hour, it's your turn to talk. No shortage of big issues making people stop and think across the province right now. In the last few days, renewed attention on how public money is being managed by the province after reports from the Auditor General raising questions about oversight, transparency, and whether government spending is always going through the proper budget process. certainly sparking some conversations about accountability and how confident people feel about where their tax dollars are going. And perhaps that's something you'd like to discuss at 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. Energy is another topic that's drawing some strong reactions. Nova Scotia Power planning to spend about $20 million on a coal-fired plant that's going to retire in the near future. So the decision has people asking some tough questions about long-term planning, electric rates, how the province balances reliability, cost, and the transition to cleaner energy. What do you think? Healthcare still front and center as well. Latest numbers from the Provincial Family Practice Registry show tens of thousands of Nova Scotians still waiting for a family doctor or nurse practitioner. I just had to put myself on that list after the announcement that my family doctor is retiring for the second time. God love her. She came out of retirement to take on some patients because of the crunch. But, still many are waiting, and that affects everything from routine care to simple peace of mind. At the same time, new figures show the province spent about $7.7 billion on healthcare last fiscal year. That is a record amount. And it's prompted debate about exactly where that money is going. So for this open hour, we want to hear from you. How do you feel about government spending and accountability? What about energy decisions and power costs? You still looking for a family doc, or have you found one? The lines are open at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. And we're going to start off this hour with Jenna. Good afternoon, Jenna. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sure can. What's on your mind?
Hi, so what's on my mind right now is the whale sanctuary project in Nova Scotia.
Yes.
And the controversy. So I wanted to kind of just call in, give a quick introduction to my background, and then some rapid fire questions with some statement for Canada.
Okay.
Okay, so I am a marine mammal veterinarian.
Cool.
I did leave the captivity industry quite recently, but I am a consultant for the world's actual first built sanctuary in Italy, the Ionian Dolphin Conservation Group. I'm also the world's, as Canada, you guys had Kiska as the poor lonely whale that died. I was also the veterinarian for Lolita, the other lonely whale that died.
Okay.
And I was the her vet and the whistleblower that ultimately basically helped shut down Miami Seaquarium in Florida and bankrupt the dolphin company.
Wow. So you're on the front lines of this issue.
Yes, and I am not an activist. I am an advocate for these animals. So I'm not here to just free them all. No, I'm just here to, can we not do stupid crap with these animals and put the animals above our egos and above our paycheck? But yeah, I wanted kind of Canada to know a little bit about the CEO and the Whale Sanctuary Project and kind of their history with, specifically with Toki, or as the world knows her, Lolita.
Okay. So I'm starting to get the impression that you're not in favor of this sanctuary.
Absolutely not. I am in favor of some sanctuaries if we can get them built, but no, not this group whatsoever. So Canada, do not donate your money to this group. And I can give you specific examples as to why.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you starting us off, Jenna. We started with a bang. So thank you so much for calling, and thank you for your perspective on this morning.
Yeah, no problem. It's a pleasure. So one thing I want the public to know is that Lolita was actually, the killer whale in Miami that was in the smallest pool in North America for, 57 years? She was, to put it in perspective, the pool was 20 feet deep and she was 20 feet long. And so Charles Veinotte, the CEO of Whale Sanctuary Project, they came in and they took over care of her. And there was a veterinarian that took care of that whale for 23 years, kept her alive for 23 years. And as soon as Veinotte stepped in, that whale was dead within 2 years. And what I can tell you is I've spoken to him on numerous occasions and his board members, and he refused to consult with that that killer whale's vet of 23 years. Refused. He has a killer whale biologist on his board and never allowed her to view this whale. She's a world-renowned killer whale biologist, Ingrid Visser.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that there is definitely a way that this can be done, where retired sea mammals can be safely and humanely cared for after they're finished in the entertainment industry, but this is not the way to do it. What do you see as the shining example of how it should be done?
Well, that's the big question, because it's been done once by Rick O'Barry with 3 dolphins. But if Charles Veinotte and Whale Sanctuary Project do exactly what they've done in the past with Kiska, with Lolita, and with Keiko, they're going to. The animals will not survive, especially in the site they've selected in Nova Scotia, and it will set the movement back by another decade. And it's not that every marine mammal can go into a sea pen. It's individual. You have to analyze every single animal based on their health status and everything, if they're even candidates for a sea pen. So not every marine mammal is a candidate for a sea pen, but I do believe. So, for instance, there was an sewage leak from Miami Seaquarium into the bay. They were literally pumping feces into the bay. This is documented by the city and the county and by USDA in Miami. And they were then sucking the water back in and putting it into the whale's tank. And they turned off her disinfection. Charles Veinotte turned off her chlorine disinfection, and she died within weeks. And he also, I told him, so the veterinarian, this should anger you guys. The veterinarian that the CEO of Whale Sanctuary Project hired, he was also the consulting vet for Kiska, for Lolita, and for the marine land belugas that were transferred and died to Mystic. That same veterinarian offered me money to shut my mouth during a federal investigation. So that's the type of people. Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, listen, Jenna, I'm gonna have to leave it there and get on to some other callers. But really, I really appreciate you filling in some of the blanks there. All right. Take care and have a great day.
You too.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255 are the numbers to call. David is joining us now. David, what is on your mind?
Well, the whale sanctuary is on my mind.
Okay.
I listened to Lori Marino this morning, and I noticed that she was saying that Sherbrooke was greatly in favor of this. They wanted to put the whale sanctuary right here in my backyard as well, in Mushaboom. And they were also using the same terms here, that it was Sheet Harbor that was all in favor, and it wasn't Sheet Harbor that was getting the whale sanctuary, it was Mushaboom. The same thing is happening in Sherbrooke. It is not going in Sherbrooke, it is going in Wine Harbor. And the people in Wine Harbor, mostly, as far as I am hearing, are against it. And it is up to that community to make the decision whether that should come there or not. Not outside communities. It's self-determination of communities.
Nothing about us without us.
Whatever Wine Harbor wants is what Wine Harbor should get, and that's what the outside community should be supporting, is self-determination in those communities.
So, David, tell me, what is the opposition to this project? What are the specific reasons that residents in the area are opposed to it?
I think the lady that was on just before me said it all. I think their reputation precedes them. I did a lot of research on these people when they wanted to come here. We were labeled as naysayers, but the naysayers did their research. The people that were promoting it and wanted it here did not do any research on these people, or they wouldn't have sided in with them. I can't believe that our government has issued land to these people. They issued land to foreign people over and above our own people. They gave them a 20-year lease or something. What my question is to the government officials, and Mr. Morrow was the MLA down there. What research did he do on these people? Apparently none. But I have a lot of questions on this thing. I called Marineland in Ontario. I called the Marine Park in BC, and they said they would never give them whales, not this group, because of their reputation.
Wow. All right. All right. Well, listen, David, I'll have to leave it there for now, but very much appreciate your call this morning, and have a great day.
Well, one other point I'd like to make before I go.
Sure, quickly, yep.
I also talked to a animal behaviorist that worked with them on the Keiko deal, and he wrote a book on it, The Truth About Killing Keiko, and his name is Mark Simmons, and I talked to him extensively on the phone, and he was actually going to come up here and do a talk, but COVID hit, and we couldn't bring him up.
Oh.
But there's a lot of questions I have on this as well. And he when he worked with these people, he was not happy with the way things went.
Wow.
And our government needs to do some research here before they start giving out land and anything to these people.
All right, David. Listen, I'll have to let you go, but thank you so very much for calling, and looking forward to hearing more about this issue. 405-6000 is the number, or 1-877-821, or 801 rather, 8255. It is 12:18. We're going to take a quick break. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. It's 12:21, and the Mid-Week Meltdown is here, and joining us on the line right now is Jason. Thanks for holding on, Jason. Appreciate that. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
Excellent. What can we do for you?
So I'm a marine mammal scientist from the States, actually, and I've worked a lot with animals in zoos and aquariums. And I'll tell you, your whale sanctuary project issue here, these animals are not conditioned to live in that environment because they've been living in pools for so long.
Yeah.
That when they've tried to do this in other places, for example, the Icelandic belugas, they moved from China. They tried to put them out into one of these things, and the animals ended up getting stressed out and getting ulcers. So they had to basically put them back into a pool smaller than the one they came from in China. So this is the thing that the Whale Sanctuary Project is not being honest about with the people of Canada, that these animals they've not figured out a way to keep animals in these environments without them getting stressed out. And at least in that case, they had an indoor facility they could put them to. The whale sanctuary people don't have anything like that. So if the whales don't do well immediately, they don't have a plan. And so there's a lot of issues, especially. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, so what is the solution? Like, I mean, we've got, and as I mentioned during the interview earlier, attitudes towards these types of parks that's changed dramatically. And so we now have a lot of these marine mammals that are in need of new homes. What is the solution?
So what you're going to need to do, these animals are never going to live in the ocean. That's just not an answer for them, especially the areas where they want to put them, where there's been a lot of arsenic and mercury that's kind of sequestered with the hope that it doesn't become unsequestered such that it negatively affects the animals. So there's just not a lot of great places to put them in this way. But what you probably need to do for now is triage what you can, get the animals to American facilities locally as quickly as can be done safely. Then start looking at building probably new research institutes that are inland, that are kind of maximized with the current understanding of animal welfare science. That's what you do. And then these animals would be part of conservation research and conservation science moving forward. That's the best plan you got, because sanctuary, while the word sounds really nice, right, the problem is it's just another form of captivity. The question is it a good form of captivity for these animals or a bad form? And the problem with it is that so far the data bear out that this is not good for these animals. Yeah. They just don't have some sort of like genetic switch that turns on that tells them, oh, I'm in the ocean, everything's great now. That's just not how their brains work. It's like putting a human being in the middle of the Amazon and saying, good luck, have fun, when they're used to, living in some sort of suburban environment.
All right, Jason, appreciate that. And thank you so much for calling.
Of course. Thanks a lot.
All right. Take care. 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Back to the phone lines. And Cooper is joining us. Hey, Cooper, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I really liked your comment earlier on the whale sanctuary when you said you don't think that they can raise enough money just off bottle drives and 50/50s, right?
Yeah, I mean, 15 million, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is a lot of money. And they have had a history of raising a lot of money, which is quite interesting. Looking into the organization itself, one of the co-founders, Michael Mountain, is also the co-founder of the Best Friends Animal Society.
Okay.
And historically, that sounds like really nice. Best Friends Animal Society. The name sounds great. But looking into the history of it, it was formerly called the Process Church of the Final Judgment. If you look up either the Best Friends Animal Society or the Process Church of the Final Judgment on Google, the FBI has active files on the Process Church and the Best Friends Animal Society. The whale sanctuary is registered to the same address as these, like Best Friends Animal Society in this case.
Right.
So it's quite interesting that the FBI is looking into this organization and its past. It's interesting. Yeah.
Now, do you live down that way?
Are you? I do.
Are you in one of the communities that will be neighbors with the sanctuary?
Yes.
Okay. So, have there been public meetings? Has the community gotten together to talk about this? How involved has the community been so far?
Like one of the previous callers said, from Mushroom, they played the same card here where they said it was going into Port Hilford, when in fact it was going into Wine Harbor. This was quite deceptive from the very beginning. The second part was they've said that they have consensus on the landowners around the sanctuary itself.
Right.
But to our knowledge, there's only one consenting to this out of 4, which is not consensus.
All right. We'll leave it there for now. Cooper, thank you so much for calling. Very much appreciate it, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
All right. It is 10:28. We're going to take a quick break. Blake Priddle is standing by with your news. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Back in a moment. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Mid-Week Meltdown. This is our open hour for you. And certainly there is no topic that is off limits here. We're going to the phone lines at 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call. We do have some lines available, and Al is joining us now. Good afternoon, Al.
Good afternoon, Lisa. I'm a taxi driver around town, and so I don't have a lot of issues with the bike lanes. It's irritating sometimes. The biggest thing for a taxi driver, we know where they're at. When we come out, they have their lane, so that's sort of a safety thing. But today I went down Allen Street, and the bike lane has cut off that whole corner. They from kitty quarter to kitty quarter, they got those green little Christmas trees or whatever they call right across, and an opening just for one bike. So to me, that's a health issue, because police car can't get through. Fire fire trucks can't get through, neither can ambulances. Now, that was a good corner. I don't know if they can rethink it or not, but it shouldn't be closed off to traffic.
All right, but
that's Allen and Harvard.
Allen and Harvard. Okay, interesting. But by and large, though, you support bike lanes. You're in support.
I support them.
You accept the need for them, I guess, is
yeah, because I know where they're at. They're in their lane, right? So before they were in front of me, behind me, beside me, running into me. Now they're in their lane. I have a few oddities. So when you make a right turn, say going into the VG hospital, you can't see them coming, and if they don't pay attention, there's accidents there, right? Things like that. Just minor little things that could be tweaked and stuff. I don't like not turning right on a red light when there's no cars around and stuff like that. But it's for the use of the bike lane. I understand that, so it doesn't really. It just irritates me a little bit that I have to. It steps on my this way of doing things. But that's the one I'm sort of have an issue with. Is that one there? It shouldn't. They shouldn't cut off a good street. Allen Street's a long street too, right? So for emergency vehicles to get through, I don't know how they could even think of that, right?
Well, listen. Before I let you go, Al, you mentioned that you're a cab driver.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts and feelings on the ride share and the discussion that the folks that drive ride share have to abide by pretty much the same rules in the municipality as cab drivers do?
Well, it's the same thing as somebody said to somebody had said, we'll give you Lisa's job for half price, and they force you out and they give somebody else your job. That's what they've done. They've taken the taxi industry and really destroyed it. And as people do have a lot of problems with money, and I can see they go to a cheaper way of transportation, but they have a lot of things which they call surge wages or something. Say on a snowstorm, I'll give you another example. At the airport, say that there's 20 Uber out there. They shut their machines off, so their main office can't see. They'll just see one. So that means that he'll get a top rate for airport runs back to Halifax. So because if there was 15, it would get that $40 rate or whatever they charge. But if there's just one, they put the surge pricing in, and the customer bites a bullet, might have to pay $90 or $100 to get back. Wow. And that's proven. That so that surge is it gives them a huge advantage. It's really ripping off the customer. So the low price is good for the customer, but they don't have to pay the insurance that we do. For example, the only time they pay high insurance is when they're doing a trip. For example, if a Uber driver picks a flag, he's still under just personal insurance. So people don't know that. But if he gets a call through the Uber app, then that insurance jumps up to that $1 million or whatever we have, right?
Right.
But it's a very small payment. We're not allowed to do that. They have a great advantage against the taxi industry. A big advantage. It's got to do with money coming in and money going out. They don't put the money going out like we do. It's just amazing the kind of money we put out just to survive.
Yeah.
And they don't have to, right? So I think that's about the only thing. There's 3 or 4 of them around downtown, so there must be business for them, right? So I just feel bad that they don't want to obey any rules. Like if they had to pay full insurance on the cars, they wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Now I want to go back to that for a second, Al. So just walk me through that insurance piece. So are you telling me that they pay a bit of insurance?
So if you want to become say you want to become a Uber driver, you go through their insurance company, which is Canada-wide, and you would just get personal insurance for your car.
Okay.
And then when you get a call, the insurance flips up to a taxi rate insurance in case you have an accident or there's any kind of right.
Whereas you guys have to carry that insurance 24/7.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not. It's like it's a system that's good for the public because of the low rate, but it has destroyed the taxi industry big time.
All right, Al, thank you so much for that. Appreciate your input.
And check that Allen Street, will you please?
Allen and Harvard.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. It is 12:41 and 902-405-6000 is the local number, or out of town 1-877-801-8255. We have lines available for you right now. And big story that just broke was fourth year in a row now. The Auditor General in this province is recommending stronger oversight on how the provincial government spends your money not included in the budget. Now, the report from Kim Adair was released on Tuesday, and it highlights $1.6 billion in spending in the last fiscal year that wasn't first authorized by a vote in the legislature. Since the 2020-21 fiscal year, the government spent more than $6.7 billion outside the budget process. So, and they're able to do that because of the province's Finance Act, which is something that is apparently unique to Nova Scotia and allows for extra spending to be approved solely by the government of the day. But how much is too much? Come on. 6.7 billion outside the budget process. That's a lot of money that's flowing out the door without the proper amount of oversight. Perhaps that's something that you would like to discuss here at 405-6000. Yeah, I mean, this is the fourth year in a row that has happened. So, to me, that's starting to look less like a one-off and more like a trend. What say you? 405-6000 is the number. And we're going to go to the phone lines right now. And I do believe that we've got Matt on the line joining us. Hey, good morning, Matt, and welcome. Good afternoon, I should say.
Yeah, hi. Yesterday they had that on shooting, the RCMP and the alerts thing. But I got a alert system on my cell phone that they said Moserville, Clarksville, and Stanley. All right? And then on CBC, that's what they said last night on the radio or on the television. But it happened up in McPhee Corner, up just outside the Senegane thing. And that's about 50 miles away. So where did they get Clarksville and all them saying that's down there?
Well, it's my understanding that it was that the gentleman, the center of this incident, was in a car. He left in a car. So suspecting
a blue Honda.
So I think that's where they were anticipating he was going to head, or that's where he indicated he may be heading.
Yeah, but why anybody, if it was a dangerous and somebody walked along the road up, why would they even mention Clarksville and stuff? Why not say, the area, Upper Auden or 9 Mile River and stuff? Somebody walking along the road, they would be pretty dangerous, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, and certainly those are some interesting questions, because I got the emergency alert while listening to 95.7, actually, as I was driving over the bridge heading to the studio. So, and I was right in the middle of Halifax Regional Municipality. So, I think, I certainly think that post Portapic, we're taking a much more cautious approach when it comes to emergency alerts. And I think that does come into play whenever decisions are made about whether or not to issue those alerts and to whom.
They haven't learned anything from the mass security too much, by giving information like that out and not warning the people where it happened at. Right, that's 50 miles away from where they said it's going to be and everything. Yeah. And then even they showed a picture on CBC last night too, but to recognize was a garage and a house. That was in Riverside Corner. and everything. So, well, I was wondering if there's two incidents or if there's just one.
Yeah, no, just the one incident as far as we know, but I mean, very, very early into the investigation, so I'm sure all of that will be part of what they look into as they move forward.
Yeah.
All right.
Then.
Listen, Matt,
Okay,
thank you
great.
so much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those are the numbers to call if you want to get in on the Mid-Week Meltdown. Boy, huge news that I did not see coming, and I think many people were taken by surprise. The announcement this morning that the casino is moving from downtown Halifax, going across the harbor to Dartmouth. In the immortal words of Councillor Mancini, Dartmouth gets everything. But no, the current property on Upper Water Street is going to be listed for sale in the coming weeks. The province announcing it's signed an agreement with Great Canadian Entertainment. They are the owners of Casino Nova Scotia. They're going to build that new location in Dartmouth Crossing, and they're going to still continue to own and operate and maintain it, but it's going to be brand new. Interesting to find out just what led to this. I suspect there's so much going on in that area. That is the location of what will be the Cogswell district. So perhaps the time was right for Great Canadian Entertainment to say this is the time for a change. But certainly the Dartmouth Crossing area, it's big, it's growing, and they certainly have all the amenities that could support. But boy, how much are we gonna lose by having this move from the waterfront? It's just such an iconic location. It's certainly become a fixture on the waterfront, and so it's interesting to see where that will go, and looking forward to further announcements on the new casino that is coming to Halifax. It is 12:48. We're going to take a quick break right now. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. The Mid-Week Meltdown continues. Give us a call if you would at 405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Back in a moment. 12:51 is the time here. It is the Mid-Week Meltdown on 95.7 News Radio, and we have room for you on the phone lines now at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Taking your calls, whatever is on your mind today. And just speaking a bit earlier about the union that is representing dozens of laid-off workers at a Halifax video game studio. They have now filed formal complaint. They've accused the company of shutting down for no other reason than to get rid of the recently formed local union. The CWA Canada filed the legal complaint yesterday. They have to file with the Nova Scotia Labour Board, and this after Paris-based Ubisoft shut down its Halifax office on January 7th. Now, workers in Halifax, the Halifax location, learned just before Christmas that they were certified to join the country's only all-media union. But the video game giant closed its Halifax office just within days after that announcement, saying it needed to do so to reduce costs and to streamline their operations. Now, it's interesting. Ubisoft is one of the world's most successful game developing companies. They employ 17,000 people around the world. And here in Canada, they've got about 4,000 staff in Toronto, Winnipeg, and 4 cities in Quebec. Interesting to note that none of the employees here in Halifax that were impacted by the layoffs, none of them were offered work anywhere else. So I think we're going to be tackling that issue later on this week here on the show. I'm going to try and get somebody from the union on to break it all down a bit more because, the union was supposed to represent 61 of the 71 workers that got their pink slips earlier this month. Something else that's going on, we just spoke about this, the police watchdog in the province. They have confirmed that they are investigating that shooting involving the RCMP, a shooting that led to the death of a man in Sebaganagati First Nation. Now, the Serious Incident Response Team said yesterday that officers with the Sebaganagati RCMP responded to reports of a disturbance at a home, and an adult male was on site with a firearm and was threatening others before leaving in a car, according to the press release from CERT. And the officers located the male and were able to deflate the tires of the vehicle with a spike belt. But, at that point, the vehicle left the road on Highway 202 at an intersection. But, the CERT doesn't say what happened after the vehicle left the roadway, but only saying the police attempted what they call non-lethal options before multiple shots were fired by officers. And so the watchdog is responsible for investigating all matters involving police and serious injury, not just in Nova Scotia, but in other parts of the Maritimes as well. So it'll be interesting to get some more information on that. The RCMP doesn't provide any further info on what transpired in the time between the vehicle leaving the roadway and the man being shot, only saying that shots were fired and authorities were attempting life-saving resuscitation. It is 12:55, and coming up on the show tomorrow, we're going to be discussing, and we touched on it with Al a bit earlier in the Mid-Week Meltdown, talking about Uber, and it looks like Halifax Council has postponed the debate on a bylaw that would propose increased oversights for Uber. We're going to try and track down a city councillor to discuss that and get some details. Also going to talk with Dr. Howard Chertkow, who is a leading Canadian cognitive neurologist, and he's going to walk us through winter social isolation and what it can do to your brain health, and perhaps some early things, some early signs to watch for, and also some things that you can do to help combat that. Also coming up tomorrow, we've got Atlantic Canadians bracing for financial challenges this year. Yeah, it's looking very difficult for higher costs of living. Many anticipating that it's going to go up again. The housing pressure, of course, that has not eased at all. And so we're going to speak with a licensed insolvency trustee to talk about options that are available and, just what folks are going to be facing with inflation and other cost of living issues. Also, we're going to be tackling National Non-Smoking Week in Canada. It's hard to believe that it is still a thing, that people are still choosing to smoke cigarettes, but they do, and the Canadian Cancer Society is asking you to quit, and we'll give you some tips on how you can do that. Also, digging into something that is interesting, especially as we get closer to the Olympics and some major sporting events in the coming years, AI-powered ticket scams. They're out there and they're surging, and the scammers are staying ahead of the good guys. So it's it's something that we have to watch, especially the days of being able to buy your concert tickets after sleeping out on the sidewalk in front of the Metro Center. Those days are gone. Everyone buying their tickets online now. I guess it's just those of us of a certain vintage that spent time sleeping on the sidewalk outside of what is now Scotiabank Centre to buy tickets for concerts. But if you're buying concert tickets online, the AI-powered ticket scams are out there, and they want your money. Hey, listen, if you missed any part of today's program, you can catch it online at halifax.citynews.ca. And thank you to everyone who joined into the conversation, shared their stories, and took time to listen in. If something we talked about today stayed with you, keep the conversation going, whether it's with your family, your neighbors, and in the community. And thanks for spending part of your day with us. We'll do it all again tomorrow. I'm Lisa Blackburn from Forward Strategies, and you're with the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Have a great day.